In my last video, I showed you 9 knives out of my collection that some of you might call quote-unquote survival-styled knives. In this video, I'd like to overview or capture the essence of your comments, show you a few knives that I actually forgot to show you.
How dare you!
Now let's get on with this video. Greetings and welcome back to the channel, and welcome if it's your first time here. 9 survival knives is what I showed you in my last video. There were 2 knives that I forgot to show you. I'll quickly show you now. I forgot to show you this Tops Tahoma field knife. Let me know if you think this one should have made the grade as well. I also forgot to show you the SE Jungelis. This one has been featured on my channel many times, but for whatever reason, I forgot all about it. So let me quickly go over the 9 knives that I did show you. I showed a bushcraft style knife. I showed a hunting styled knife. I showed an aviation styled survival knife. I showed an extremely large bowie styled knife. I showed a kukri styled knife. I showed a very small but very thick accompaniment type knife. I showed you a knife with survival in mind. I showed you a cult classic with survival in mind. And I showed you another cult classic with survival in mind. Your comments covered many different types of knives. I did try to make the video in such a way that we could try to keep the comments to the 9 knives that I showed you, but that didn't work so well. A lot of comments started talking about many different types of knives, many of which I don't own. Except for, I've got a couple here that were loaned to me to show to you. Maybe one of these knives might be the one. But before we get there, there's a couple of things we need to talk about. And that's it, the elephant in the room. This is a hunter training conservation book. It's very thick. It's made for the area that I live in. It talks about the animals in the area. It shows where they're primarily found. Same with the birds, ammunition, fishing, of course. Now, the 2 points of interest here are clothing and equipment. You think surely they're going to talk about knives in here. And the other section fits really well with this video, survival. You think in these 2 sections, we'd be talking about a survival knife. Boots are important. Sleeping bags, shelters, even axes, types of knots, heck, even know your own chainsaw. But for whatever reason, they never talked about knives. They're going to talk about knives in this section, right? The steps to survival. A lot of bushcrafty type things going on here. Oh, wait. A knife. A knife is mentioned in suggested equipment to be carried. I was in the military a long time ago, but not that long ago. In this book, this is one of the few pictures I see that them using a knife. I'm just not seeing a lot of knife usage in this book. I'm happy that I'm not going to see something like this where I live. So the key takeaway for me here is the knife, the type of knife, isn't really that important at this point. Now here's one that I read way back. This is the one that really got me started. It looks like a knife was here. I've tried this, it works. But wait, now knives of all sorts are manufactured and sold to satisfy a status yearning connected with knives from which large numbers of men suffer badly, even men who have little need for a knife at all. The material and workmanship in these knives are excellent, and they are often perfectly functional knives into the bargain. They are also terribly expensive, and your object should be to find a knife of first-class functional quality without expensive embellishments. Such knives do exist. That paragraph just killed this entire video and all thousands and thousands of the videos that we watched over the years. 1931. Now let's try 2026 and see where we fall. In the last video, many of you said you really have to have an SE6 in your collection. Lo and behold, here is an SE6. This one is special in a couple of ways. We've got some serrations and we've got a sharpened edge on the top. Here's an example of what I've watched on the internet, minus the serrations and minus the sharpened edge. After I put that video out, I went out onto the interwebs and watched maybe 15 videos with the SE6. So now I can tie this back into the previous video. Good balance, good handle, got some protection. Micarta is great when it gets wet. Clearly the serrations are going to be a bone of contention with a lot of people, but this is a survival knife. The knife that I cannot show you is the Becker 2, the BK2. I'm not even going to flash a picture of it. Most of you who are watching this video, you know what that looks like. And the one that screamed out the loudest is a must-have in this collection was the SE5. But not just one, two SE5s. Now the two that I'm showing you here have the contoured handles, good protection for the finger guard, good breakage on the back side, super thick, 1/4 inch if I'm not mistaken, and saber grind, which I prefer personally because it splits better than a flat grind. The three knives that you're looking at are the Cold Steel SRK, the SE5, and the Falkneven A1 Pro. Of all the knives that I've showed you to this point, these three were the most popular of every knife that I showed you. The SRK 3V, price, strength, everything. Everybody had great things to say about the SRK, as do I. The A1 Pro, a tank, solid. I can go on and on about that knife. I've taken it out into the woods many times. I've never used the SE5, but here it is. I may add one of the two that I showed you into my collection. Maybe. The SE6 probably won't make my collection. When it comes to weight, I don't know the exact weights here. I believe this one was a pound, so this one has to be really close as well. They feel very similar. I believe this was 16 ounces. The thickness goes to the A1. The blade length goes to the A1. The cutting edge, it goes to the A1. The ergonomics, I'd have to give it to the SE. But this is a pretty cool knife. Now what I like about this one is that modularity. So I'm thinking of adding this one. Not really sure. This one's kind of interesting too. So that's 12 very expensive knives that I've showed you. Completely contradictory to that paragraph that I read to you. With all this information, it's easy to get tangled up into the weeds. I think the easiest thing to remember for me is the area that I live in. I live in boreal forest, Canada, Rocky Mountains. I don't live in Florida or desert, anywhere where it's warm. It's absolutely miserable out there right now. The knife that I take into the woods with me needs to be strong. It does need to be strong. I always carry a small little folder or a fixed blade. I've always got one or two in my backpack. I never just walk out with one knife on my hip. So having a couple is good. And to answer one of the other questions out there, yes, having an axe is a good idea. I don't like carrying an axe for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's heavy. It's bulky. I don't like that. These are a lot lighter. I'm not splitting massive logs. I don't need something big. Secondly, in a survival type situation, you might be losing energy. And when you lose energy, you don't quite think right, and your motor functions don't work really well.
How dare you!
So throwing an axe around and you're kind of bonking and losing a little bit of energy, you're really running the risk of damaging yourself really badly. There's probably countless stories out there of people hurting themselves in the wilderness with an axe. In summary, I think the knife that you consider as a survival knife, like most of the comments say, the knife that you take with you, fair enough. But common sense, when you read these books, says every time you go out, you're generally pretty prepared. You know the area that you're going into, and you're generally ready for whatever comes at you. Of course, you can't be ready for every situation, but for the most part, if you know where you're going and how long you plan on being there, generally you should be okay, provided you've done your homework. Having said that, you're watching this video because you like knives, as do I. I think all of these knives would make great choices. However, for me personally, it's going to have to come down to the 3 that you're looking at for my one and done. That's a phrase we use all the time. That's all I got for you. I think I'm going to leave the survival knife topic alone after this video. And I'll start going back out into the woods and doing the videos that I like to do. And by the way, I always take a survival knife, with me in my pack. Till the next video, we'll see you again, maybe.